This is John President's Fish White House. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's coordinated. That's weird.
Nope, it's good. I mean, yes, that's okay.
That's probably.
What my age was?
That's right.
Oh my God. Yeah. That would have been.
You know, it's interesting. I was looking at the old high school, it wasn't thick, but they had to carry it. She didn't like it all, but she seemed like a little bit more sophisticated in some ways. I know she would have that choice too. Yes, They give you this test, the teacher will confirm it. It wasn't embarrassment, it was like, I remember
Yeah.
I knew they were going back somewhere because they were a lot older. This one goes towards the middle of the back. Yeah, good job. Daddy got him. They're laborers. If the wife works, or whatever, they can get for gas walk, gas. I think they get GED. He's like a manager. Well, you know, you always, I remember he had a nice house. I mean, not you, he had a nice house. Fucking car, his wife did it. And now I moved to that's where I'm based on. That's pretty cool. He's a manager. First one,
Plugged in.
put the hose in, you take it out,
That's been out.
drop that water, and take it through wells.
That's been
And
out.
that's how they
It goes through that.
milk with that.
Then we have to take that up and then all but right now, it's fine plugged
Oh, yes, he said this is his good.
Governor Dingell, the president, spokesman Charles Spicer, pointed out that the subsequent President Tim Swift of the wiretap both didn't necessarily mean that the line itself, phone line, but provided other kinds of electronic surveillance. The president himself said last night that this wiretap more than just going to the past. But still, the White House is unable to do much more than point to unusual that suggests that there was some kind of surveillance. So far, all the people who are leading the investigation up on Capitol Hill say that they haven't seen the actual evidence. Well, what's so interesting is that those two federal judges, one in Hawaii and the other in Maryland, ruled last night and early this morning. And that is the idea that the president's statements over the course of the campaign, statements are his opinions, matter, not just the text of the executive order of what he could do if they go into the back. The judges are buying the argument that presidents are tragic. There's a person who's like an anti-Muslim radical, so Justice gave last night saying that strongly disagrees with the ruling that he suspects that the administration is appealing. But so far, the administration does not have significant victory, and it can point to pursuit this fight for the immigration executive order. This is something that's likely to continue. It's so clear, certainly in the district court ruling in Honolulu, the judge that heard all the arguments on both sides, with respect to this question about the First Amendment, is sound. Rejected the administration's argument to oppose the market. Well, I think it's important to really constructive talk about the two separate legal fights. The first one was about whether green cards and visas were kept in the Supreme Court said no, they can't. The administration basically acknowledged that and issued a new executive order that was specifically designed to pass muster on that basis. But the challenge on that question about whether it was based on anti-Muslim and that question was the earliest statement answered last night in Honolulu by the old district there. The administration chose to take it up to the Ninth Circuit. So the Ninth Circuit was quickly decided to move it from the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court agreed to take it out. But remember, as it stands now, it's the line this question will fall squarely on the shoulders of the nominee. I'm sure it'll be asked on Monday by members of the answer.
John Roberts, we'll go fluffy. Wrong number. Massive set.
Yeah, what's your number?
How are we talking about it? Remember when they used to hand back the phones? We had to hand it to the secretary. You're fine.
Is that this is the president's words of course the campaign and his and also translated to significant boost in VA spending elsewhere. And every other federal agency but so that's what I meant to work play out in several months. And ultimately, 555 members of the House and Senate that will resolve the question passing appropriations bills for the president to sign. Rally is a tough man. And so it's true. Yes, that's the story.
Friends in one jump. What you told me that before, I went too far. I dropped
So 22 to 19. That's right. 1918. It's not the first time you've yeah, I'm on sorry. So far right now. The one thing that I say is, well, short of that, this morning, Mark Warner, the ranking member of the Senate Intelligence Senator from Washington, said he finds it more helpful about the president's I said, I'll learn to just told me to do it. No indication that there was any kind of surveillance by He's right, but that's important. The president the various instances to see what exactly, for example, the NASA judges of zero hour. You have the president like to sue, but ultimately every single program and agency has some kind of natural constituency that is represented. Nothing this is an epic fight. No, but remember that it's a fight on Capitol Hill. The president clearly needs to the table to put through a debate, but we cannot decide all the
Well, I don't know the answer to that, but we can tell you as it was supposed to start about 45 minutes ago, but as you noted, about 15 minutes before the scheduled news conference, that's when this release came out from the Senate Intelligence Committee, not just saying that there was no indication that there was any wiretapping, but no indications of any surveillance broadly before, during, or after the 2016 election. So as you can imagine, on a day when the White House is expected to be talking about, defending, reinforcing the budget blueprints, instead they're going to be fending off a lot of questions about the president's claim that President Obama wiretapped Trump Tower during the course of that campaign. One of the questions reporters in this room certainly want to ask the president, President Trump, through his press secretary, is does he accept the findings of this? Will he apologize to President Obama? We're already getting some indication of what we think he'll say. There was a conversation Sean Spicer just had with Laura. Basically, he said that in the course of the next couple of weeks, we get more information about exactly what President Trump was referring to. This keeps with the theme that we've heard from this White House, first they sort of expanded the meaning of wiretapping to all surveillance. That has been shot down by the Senate Intelligence Committee. But at this point, based on the comments we've seen from Spicer today on the radio, it's not entirely clear that they're willing to accept these findings at this point. They may want to stick around and see if there is any evidence anywhere that they still come out.
Yeah.
second consecutive time this revised travel ban now blocked by District Court in Hawaii and separately a court closer here in Washington, D.C. and Maryland. There's that issue. There's the issue of the wiretapping. There's the issue of the health care plan, where it stands right now with Paul Ryan among those acknowledging that there are going to have to be significant changes for this to get passed going forward. So the White House has a lot of explaining to do, so to speak, on a variety of different topics on this day, and not the least of which is this wiretapping issue that reflects from the primary focus that was intended to be the focus of this routine. That's Mick Mulvaney, the budget director, who's supposed to come out and talk about the president and this America First themed budget. So I traveled home on Air Force One yesterday from Tennessee with the president, and about 5 minutes before we landed, he came back and visited with reporters and camera persons very briefly. Spicer, truly speaking to other advisors, perhaps even the president right now, trying to come up with what their best plan of action is going forward before they come out and speak to the American people. One conceivable solution would be to come out and say, you know what, he was wrong, he spoke too soon. It's not something we've heard from the president or from the White House. It seems unlikely, certainly based on what we've heard Spicer say in a matter of minutes or within the last couple of hours on that topic.
We should get a prize for whoever gets the most live shots in.
Yeah. He's doing the He's already made it. Anyone say hi there? Got Claudius doing if you were to play. Yeah. Hi. What about your wife? Sure, yeah. There's good doctor in the living room for a road. Yeah.
I think we can safely presume that when they're formulating what their answer will be to questions about this fire.
Stay there, I want your head
We didn't have one.
Yeah, I'm late. I'm not that late. Doug's later than I am. Okay,
That was the first thing I Focus. Okay. Good. Done. No, Wuxi did one already. Wuxi did one
get the demoralized.
Is represented here today. Worth noting. We don't know exactly when Sean Flanagan is going to be coming into the room. We expect that to happen momentarily. And really an official 2-minute warning. We asked the press officer to say something to the PA system here as what to do. And the answer was it was unsure. That gives you the sense that they're still working out the case here. At least the administration will come to the end with us. But we'll obviously there's going to be a lot of questions for Sean Spicer after this briefing on Saturday. We had that in Conference briefing at 5 o'clock that afternoon. It's not really a briefing, it was a statement. It was an unusual statement for many reasons. One of which is that usually, as you know, the White House press secretary, when he comes into the briefing room, he answers questions. On Saturday was Sean Spicer came into the briefing room, lashed out at the interview on crowd. And then left without taking any questions. So we have lots of other questions to ask. On Saturday, there's an executive signed by the president. On Friday, meeting with Obama there. There are a lot of questions around that, of course. We'll take all those questions into that will. Right. We asked, are we going to get a 2-minute warning today? And basically told us they weren't sure about that yet. So one of the things that we're going to be working on as we move forward here are just some of the White House and the White House press tour. For example, this door that is over here on my right, behind the podium, and as you enter what we call the deputy press secretary said, that door is typically open during business hours here at the White House. So reporters can go back there, they can talk to deputy press secretaries, answer their questions. There's it goes from that office up to the White House press secretary's office. And during the Obama administration, as you know, reporters and they're talking to deputy press secretaries, but also go up that hallway, go past that's in that hallway. You go up and talk to John Simmons, the White House press secretary, and President Obama. Will all of that be the same in this new administration? Will we have that same sort of ground rule in effect for us? We don't know the answer to that question.
Check 1 2 1 2 3 4 5. Mic check 1 2 3 4 5. Dano, you good?
Thank you. Well, yes, that. Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, Jay. Now, where does that go? Scared. It's like you know, it doesn't scare you. I apologize. I'm not used to that kind of, you know, from that point, this will be more. Yeah, right, exactly. The only about Stuart, you all right? Right. And that's the way to do the breathing. Yeah, I know. We're actually, I guess,
Picking up the podium. We can get what we need without. Yeah.
Anything you want to talk?
Yeah, Mike. How are you? You said something the other day. Heating up your wings. God love it.
So, how is
Okay. I'll make sure it's wrapped. Okay. That comes just too fat.
I'm not even.
What do you think?
Right.
I just want to tell you, the guy that plays in Saturday Night Live, you're much better with this.
Where's the final? Like the door.
Spray, being still on.
You got who? The beginning of the end. Right, you got it. Yeah, we're gonna come out there.
I don't show
Not
That the White House also held a conference call with conservative groups to lay out some of the talking points that the White House will be using over the coming days. I've got some of these talking points in front of me. Not surprisingly, as you mentioned, the president is expected to say, and they'll be saying over the coming days, that the Paris Agreement was just bad for business, and that's what this talking point says here. It says the Paris Accord is a bad deal for Americans, and the president's action today is keeping his campaign promise to put American workers first. The accord was negotiated poorly by the Obama administration and signed out of desperation. These talking points say it front loads costs on the American people to the detriment of our economy and job growth while extracting meaningless commitments from the world's top global emitters like China. Interesting, Jake, on a couple of fronts in that they're trying to frame this as an economic decision that the president is making after all those years of tweets and statements from the president that climate change is a hoax and so on. Jake, nowhere is it mentioned in these talking points that climate change is not happening. So the White House, by omission, appears to be acknowledging that climate change is happening, that human activity is contributing to climate change, although it doesn't state that very much here. It talks about how carbon emissions have been reduced already by the U.S., and it casts doubt on what the commitments might be like from China and other big polluters in terms of bringing climate change under control. And, of course, we know the scientific community and even companies like ExxonMobil and BP are all convinced that climate change is happening. So anybody who would say otherwise, might be worth, might be full of kofifi or something, Jake. But in the meantime, we are hearing from the White House that yes, the president does intend to fulfill a campaign promise. And I talked to a source close to the White House that this is exactly a part of the president's calculus, that there have been a few occasions, obviously, over the last several months of this administration where the president hasn't kept his campaign promises, hasn't pulled out of NAFTA, didn't label China a currency manipulator. He didn't move the embassy in Israel to Jerusalem, and so on and so on. And so this is an opportunity, they feel, where the president can do that and not damage his standing politically among conservatives. But of course, you're going to hear a lot of people around the world, Jake, in the coming days saying this is very damaging to the planet. The president of the United States is the leader of the free world. The United States is the leader of the free world. And the leader of the free world is pulling out of a historic climate agreement. Jake. Okay. Okie dokie. See you soon. I worked in Kofifi.
The idea of American greatness, of our country as the leader of the free and unfree world, has vanished. I've decided to do something about it. I couldn't stand to see what was happening to our great country. This mess calls for leadership in the worst way. It needs someone with common sense and business acumen. Someone who can truly lead America back to what has made us great in the past. We need someone with a proven track record in business who understands greatness. Someone who can rally us to the standard of excellence we once epitomized. I started with the issue of illegal immigration and proposed building a major wall that would be very high and completely impervious to the flood of immigrants who we don't want or need here illegally. Suddenly, Americans started to wake up to what was going on with regard to illegal immigration. Despite the large number of candidates who were running for the Republican nomination, what I was saying started to really hit home with people. I started drawing very large crowds so that we had to move our rallies into football stadiums and convention centers. The first national debate drew 24 million viewers, which set a record for cable television. All of a sudden, people who had never cared about the election or never voted before were rushing to our rallies. The rallies became massive. The crowds were unbelievable. The enthusiasm was based on pure love and love of what we were doing. The media, the politicians, and the so-called leaders of our country reacted in horror. But I persevered and went directly to the people because I don't need anyone's financial support, nor do I need anyone's approval as to what to say. I just had to do the right thing. I had to do it. I had no choice. I see what's happening.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the United States.
Good afternoon. Secretary Mnuchin, Secretary Ross, EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt, members of Congress, distinguished guests, on behalf of the First Family, welcome to the White House. You know, it's the greatest privilege of my life to serve as Vice President to a president who is fighting every day to make America great again. Since the first day of this administration, President Donald Trump has been working tirelessly to keep the promises that he made to the American people. President Trump has been reforming health care, enforcing our laws, ending illegal immigration, rebuilding our military. And this president has been rolling back excessive regulations and unfair trade practices that were stifling American jobs. Thanks to President Trump's leadership, American businesses are growing again, investing in America again, and they're creating jobs in this country instead of shipping jobs overseas. Thanks to President Donald Trump, America is back. And just last week, we all witnessed the bold leadership of an American president on the world stage, putting America first.
From the Middle East to Europe, as leader of the free world, President Trump reaffirmed historic alliances, forged new relationships, and called on the wider world to confront the threat of terrorism in new and renewed ways. And by the action the President will announce today, the American people and the wider world will see once again our President is choosing to put American jobs and American consumers first. Our President is choosing to put American energy and American industry first. And by his action today, President Donald Trump is choosing to put the forgotten men and women of America first. So with gratitude for his leadership, and admiration for his unwavering commitment to the American people, it is now my high honor and distinct privilege to introduce to all of you the President of the United States of America, President Donald Trump.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I would like to begin by addressing the terrorist attack in Manila. We're closely monitoring the situation, and I will continue to give updates. Anything happens during this period of time, but it is really very sad as to what's going on throughout the world with terror. Our thoughts and our prayers are with all of those affected. Before we discuss the Paris Accord, I'd like to begin with an update on our tremendous, absolutely tremendous economic progress since Election Day on November 8th. The economy is starting to come back, and very, very rapidly. We've added $3.3 trillion in stock market value to our economy and more than 1 million private sector jobs. I've just returned from a trip overseas where we concluded nearly $350 billion of military and economic development for the United States, creating hundreds of thousands of jobs. It was a very, very successful trip. Believe me. Thank you. Thank you. In my meetings at the G7, we have taken historic steps to demand fair and reciprocal trade that gives Americans a level playing field against other nations. We're also working very hard for peace in the Middle East, and perhaps even peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Our attacks on terrorism are greatly stepped up, and you see that. You see it all over. From the previous administration, including getting many other countries to make major contributions to the fight against terror. Big, big contributions are being made by countries that weren't doing so much in the form of contribution. One by one, we are keeping the promises I made to American people during my campaign for president. Whether it's cutting job-killing regulations, appointing and confirming a tremendous Supreme Court justice, putting in place tough new ethics rules, achieving a record reduction in illegal immigration on our southern border, or bringing jobs, plants, and factories back into the United States at numbers which no one until this point thought even possible. And believe me, we've just begun. The fruits of our labor will be seen very shortly, even more so. On these issues and so many more, we're following through on our commitments, and I don't want anything to get in our way. I am fighting every day for the great people of this country. Therefore, in order to fulfill my solemn duty to protect America and its citizens, the United States will withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord Thank you. Thank you. But begin negotiations to re-enter either the Paris Accord or in really entirely new transaction on terms that are fair to the United States, its businesses, its workers, its people, its taxpayers. So we're getting out, but we will start to negotiate, and we will see if we can make a deal that's fair. And if we can, that's great. And if we can't, that's fine. As president, I can put no other consideration before the well-being of American citizens. The Paris Climate Accord is simply the latest example of Washington entering into an agreement that disadvantages the United States to the exclusive benefit of other countries, leaving American workers, who I love, and taxpayers to absorb the cost in terms of lost jobs, lower wages, shuttered factories, and vastly diminished economic production. Thus, as of today, the United States will cease all implementation of the non-binding Paris Accord and the draconian financial and economic burdens the agreement imposes on our country. This includes ending the implementation of the nationally determined contribution and, very importantly, the Green Climate Fund, which is costing the United States a vast fortune. Compliance with the terms of the Paris Accord and the onerous energy restrictions that is placed on the United States could cost America as much as 2.7 million lost jobs by 2025, according to the National Economic Research Associates. This includes 440,000 fewer manufacturing jobs, not what we need. Believe me, this is not what we need, including automobile jobs and the further decimation of vital American industries on which countless communities rely. They rely for so much, and we would be giving them so little. According to the same study, by 2040, compliance with the commitments put into place by the previous administration would cut production for the following sectors: paper, down 12%. Cement, down 23%. Iron and steel, down 38%. Coal, and I happen to love the coal miners, down 86%. Natural gas, down 31%. The cost to the economy at this time would be close to $3 trillion in lost GDP and 6.5 million industrial jobs, while households would have $7,000 less income, and in many cases, much worse than that. Not only does this deal subject our citizens to harsh economic restrictions, it fails to live up to our environmental ideals. As someone who cares deeply about the environment, which I do, I cannot in good conscience support a deal that punishes the United States, which is what it does. The world's leader in environmental protection, while imposing no meaningful obligations on the world's leading polluters. For example, under the agreement, China will be able to increase these emissions by a staggering number of years, 13. They can do whatever they want for 13 years, not us. India makes its participation contingent on receiving billions and billions and billions of dollars in foreign aid from developed countries. There are many other examples, but the bottom line is that the Paris Accord is very unfair at the highest level to the United States. Further, while the current agreement effectively blocks the development of clean coal in America, which it does, and the mines are starting to open up. We're having a big opening in 2 weeks. Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, so many places. A big opening of a brand new mine. It's unheard of. For many, many years, that hasn't happened. They asked me if I'd go. I'm going to try. China will be allowed to build hundreds of additional coal plants. So we can't build the plants, but they can, according to this agreement. India will be allowed to double its coal production by 2020. Think of it. India can double their coal production. We're supposed to get rid of ours. Even Europe is allowed to continue construction of coal plants. In short, the agreement doesn't eliminate coal jobs. It just transfers those jobs out of America and the United States and ships them to foreign countries. This agreement is less about the climate and more about other countries gaining a financial advantage over the United States. The rest of the world applauded when we signed the Paris Agreement. They went wild. They were so happy. For the simple reason that it put our country, the United States of America, which we all love, at a very, very big economic disadvantage. A cynic would say the obvious reason for economic competitors and their wish to see us remain in the agreement is so that we continue to suffer this self-inflicted major economic wound. We would find it very hard to compete with other countries from other parts of the world. We have among the most abundant energy reserves on the planet, sufficient to lift millions of America's poorest workers out of poverty. Yet under this agreement, we are effectively putting these reserves under lock and key, taking away the great wealth of our nation. It's great wealth. It's phenomenal wealth. Not so long ago, we had no idea we had such wealth. And leaving millions and millions of families trapped in poverty and joblessness. The agreement is a massive redistribution of United States wealth to other countries. At 1% growth, renewable sources of energy can meet some of our domestic demand. But at 3 or 4% growth, which I expect, we need all forms of available American energy, or our country will be at grave risk of brownouts and blackouts. Our businesses will come to a halt in many cases, and the American family will suffer the consequences in the form of lost jobs and a very diminished quality of life. Even if the Paris Agreement were implemented in full, with total compliance from all nations, it is estimated it would only produce a 0.2 of 1 degree. Think of that. This much Celsius reduction in global temperature by the year 2100. Tiny, tiny amount. In fact, 14 days of carbon emissions from China alone would wipe out the gains from America, and this is an incredible statistic, would totally wipe out the gains from America's expected reductions in the year 2030, after we have had to spend billions and billions of dollars, lost jobs, closed factories, and suffered much higher energy costs for our businesses and for our homes. As the Wall Street Journal wrote this morning, the reality is that withdrawing is in America's economic interest and won't matter much to the climate. The United States under the Trump administration will continue to be the cleanest and most environmentally friendly country on earth. We'll be the cleanest. We're going to have the cleanest air. We're going to have the cleanest water. We will be environmentally friendly, but we're not going to put our businesses out of work. And we're not going to lose our jobs. We're going to grow. We're going to grow rapidly. And I think you just read, it just came out minutes ago, the Small Business Report. Small businesses, as of just now, are booming, hiring people. One of the best reports they've seen in many years. I'm willing to immediately work with Democratic leaders to either negotiate our way back into Paris under the terms that are fair to the United States and its workers, or to negotiate a new deal that protects our country and its taxpayers. So if the obstructionists want to get together with me, let's make them non-obstructionists. We will all sit down and we will get back into the deal and we'll make it good, and we won't be closing up our factories and we won't be losing our jobs, and we'll sit down with the Democrats and all of the people that represent either the Paris Accord or something that we can do that's much better than the Paris Accord. And I think the people of our country will be thrilled, and I think then the people of the world will be thrilled. But until we do that, we're out of the agreement. I will work to ensure that America remains the world's leader on environmental issues, but under a framework that is fair and where the burdens and responsibilities are equally shared among the many nations all around the world. No responsible leader can put the workers and the people of their country at this debilitating and tremendous disadvantage. The fact that the Paris deal hamstrings the United States while empowering some of the world's top polluting countries should dispel any doubt as to the real reason why foreign lobbyists wish to keep our magnificent country tied up and bound down by this agreement. It's to give their country an economic edge over the United States. That's not going to happen while I'm president. I'm sorry. My job as president is to do everything within my power to give America a level playing field and to create the economic, regulatory, and tax structures that make America the most prosperous and productive country on earth, and with the highest standard of living and the highest standard of environmental protection. Our tax bill is moving along in Congress, and I believe it's doing very well. I think a lot of people will be very pleasantly surprised. The Republicans are working very, very hard. We'd love to have support from the Democrats, but we may have to go it alone, but it's going very well. The Paris Agreement handicaps the United States economy in order to win praise from the very foreign capitals and global activists that have long sought to gain wealth at our country's expense. They don't put America first. I do, and I always will. The same nations asking us to stay in the agreement are the countries that have collectively cost America trillions of dollars through tough trade practices and, in many cases, lax contributions to our critical military alliance. You see what's happening? It's pretty obvious to those that want to keep an open mind. At what point does America get demeaned? At what point do they start laughing at us as a country? We want fair treatment for its citizens, and we want fair treatment for our taxpayers. We don't want other leaders and other countries laughing at us anymore, and they won't be. They won't be. I was elected to represent the citizens of Pittsburgh, not Paris. I promised I would exit or renegotiate any deal which fails to serve America's interests. Many trade deals will soon be under renegotiation. Very rarely do we have a deal that works for this country, but they'll soon be under renegotiation. The process has begun from day one, but now we're down to business. Beyond the severe energy restrictions inflicted by the Paris Accord, it includes yet another scheme to redistribute wealth out of the United States through the so-called Green Climate Fund, nice name, which calls for developed countries to send $100 billion to developing countries, all on top of America's existing and massive foreign aid payments. So we're going to be paying billions and billions and billions of dollars, and we're already way ahead of anybody else. Many of the other countries haven't spent anything, and many of them will never pay one dime. The Green Fund would likely obligate the United States to commit potentially tens of billions of dollars, of which the United States has already handed over $1 billion. Nobody else is even close. Most of them haven't even paid anything, including funds raided out of America's budget for the war against terrorism. That's where they came. Believe me, they didn't come from me. They came just before I came into office. Not good. And not good the way they took the money. In 2015, the United Nations, departing top climate officials, reportedly described the $100 billion per year as peanuts, and stated that the $100 billion is the tail that wags the dog. In 2015, the Green Climate Fund's executive director reportedly stated that estimated funding needed would increase to $450 billion per year after 2020, and nobody even knows where the money is going to. Nobody's been able to say, where is it going to? Of course, the world's top polluters have no affirmative obligations under the Green Fund, which we terminate. America is $20 trillion in debt. Cash-strapped cities cannot hire enough police officers or fix vital infrastructure. Millions of our citizens are out of work, and yet, under the Paris Accord, billions of dollars that ought to be invested right here in America will be sent to the very countries that have taken our factories and our jobs away from us. So think of that. There are serious legal and constitutional issues as well. Foreign leaders in Europe, Asia, and across the world should not have more to say with respect to the U.S. economy than our own citizens and their elected representatives. Thus, our withdrawal from the agreement represents a reassertion of America's sovereignty. Our Constitution is unique among all nations of the world, and it is my highest obligation and greatest honor to protect it, and I will. Staying in the agreement could also pose serious obstacles for the United States as we begin the process of unlocking the restrictions on America's abundant energy reserves, which we have started very strongly. It would once have been unthinkable that an international agreement could prevent the United States from conducting its own domestic economic affairs. But this is the new reality we face if we do not leave the agreement or if we do not negotiate a far better deal. The risks grow as historically these agreements only tend to become more and more ambitious over time. In other words, the Paris framework is just a starting point, as bad as it is, not an end point. And exiting the agreement protects the United States from future intrusions on the United States' sovereignty and massive future legal liability. Believe me, we have massive legal liability if we stay in. As president, I have one obligation, and that obligation is to the American people. The Paris Accord would undermine our economy, hamstring our workers, weaken our sovereignty, impose unacceptable legal risk, and put us at a permanent disadvantage to the other countries of the world. It is time to exit the Paris Accord. And time to pursue a new deal that protects the environment, our companies, our citizens, and our country. It is time to put Youngstown, Ohio, Detroit, Michigan, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, along with many, many other locations within our great country, before Paris, France. It is time to make America great again. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Very important. I'd like to ask Scott Pruitt, who most of you know and respect, as I do, just to say a few words. Scott, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your decision today to exit the Paris Accord reflects your unflinching commitment to put America first. And by exiting, you're fulfilling yet one more campaign promise to the American people. Please know that I'm thankful for your fortitude, your courage, and your steadfastness as you serve and lead our country. America finally has a leader who answers only to the people, not to the special interests who have had their way for way too long. In everything you do, Mr. President, you're fighting for the forgotten men and women across this country. You're a champion for the hardworking citizens all across this land who just want a government that listens to them and represents their interest. You have promised to put America first in all that you do. And you've done that in any number of ways, from trade to national security to protecting our border to right-sizing Washington, D.C. And today you've put America first with regard to international agreements and the environment. This is an historic restoration of American economic independence, one that will benefit the working class, the working poor, and working people of all stripes. With this action, you have declared that the people are rulers of this country once again. And it should be noted that we as a nation do it better than anyone in the world in striking the balance between growing our economy, growing jobs, while also being a good steward of our environment. We owe no apologies to other nations for our environmental stewardship. After all, before the Paris Accord was ever signed, America had reduced its CO2 footprint to levels from the early 1990s. In fact, between the years 2000 and 2014, the United States reduced its carbon emissions by 18+%. And this was accomplished not through government mandate, but accomplished through innovation and technology of the American private sector. For that reason, Mr. President, you have corrected a view that was paramount in Paris, that somehow the United States should penalize its own economy, be apologetic, lead with our chin, while the rest of the world does little. Other nations talk a good game. We lead with action, not words. Our efforts, Mr. President, as you know, should be on exporting our technology, our innovation, to nations who seek to reduce their CO2 footprint to learn from us. That should be our focus, versus agreeing to unachievable targets that harm our economy and the American people. Mr. President, it takes courage, it takes commitment to say no to the plaudits of men while doing what's right by the American people. You have that courage, and the American people can take comfort because you have their backs. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.